the steppe. Endless, untamed, a sea of grass stretching beyond sight, where the wind carries whispers older than empires. Here, the horizon never ends, and neither does the silence, until the thunder comes. For centuries, no empire dared to rule this land. Kings built palaces of stone. The people of the steppe built nothing that stayed. They lived by the saddle, died by the sword, and vanished with the sunrise. To outsiders, they were ghosts, wild riders on the edge of the world, but every ghost carries a story, and this one would shake the earth. In the late 12th century, a boy was born among the Mongol tribes. They called him Temujin, a name few would remember until he became something far greater. His childhood was not the tale of princes or comfort. It was carved from hunger, betrayal, and survival. His father poisoned by rivals, his family cast out to the frozen wilderness, left to die. But the boy did not die. He learned that loyalty could be stronger than blood, that unity could turn weakness into power, and that a single will could shape the destiny of nations. The steppe was divided, tribes warring over scraps of land and honor. Temujin watched it burn and vowed to end it, but he had no army, no allies, nothing but the belief that the scattered could be forged into one. He began with loyalty, a rare weapon in those lands. One by one he bound men to him through trust, not fear. He punished betrayal without mercy, rewarded courage without hesitation. And slowly, through storms and blood, the tribes began to whisper his name. Temujin, the one who unites. End time, they crowned him with a new title, Genghis Khan, universal ruler, a name that would echo across continents like the sound of hooves on hollow ground. But before he conquered the world, he had to conquer the steppe. And that was no easy victory, because every tribe that joined him, another rose to break him. Every friend tested his resolve, every enemy forced him to sharpen it. He did not just win battles, he built systems. Messengers on horseback, a code of law that bound the wild under order, and discipline sharper than any sword. He taught the steppe something it had never known, unity under purpose. And once united, the storm could no longer be contained. The Mongols became an army of the wind, fast, precise, unstoppable. Their horses could run for days, their arrows could find hearts from hundreds of paces, their minds were guided by one will. Genghis did not fight for glory, he fought for order, his vision of a world that would kneel to discipline, not chaos. He believed that heaven had chosen him to bring balance to a world of fractured empires. And as his banners rose over the steppe, thunder rolled, the kind that doesn't fade but grows louder with every conquest. The first sparks flew east, toward China. To the Mongols, the great Jin dynasty was a mountain of arrogance and gold. To Genghis, it was a challenge, and challenges were meant to be conquered. The Jin armies outnumbered the Mongols, had fortresses, siege weapons, and walls that stretched beyond imagination. But the Mongols had something the world had never seen: speed. They moved like lightning, appearing where no army could march. Every soldier carried multiple horses. When one tired, another took its place. Their arrows fell like rain, their formations like rivers that split and rejoined at will. It wasn't just war. It was nature unleashed. When the Jin generals tried to chase them, they found nothing but empty plains. When they fortified their cities, they found Mongol engineers, Chinese, Persian, Muslim captives turned allies, building siege machines against them. Every conquest made Genghis stronger, not by plunder, but by people. He absorbed the best minds of every land, artisans, scholars, doctors, smiths, offering freedom to those who served his empire. He was not just a conqueror, he was a collector of civilizations. By 1215, Beijing fell. The banners of Genghis Khan rose where once the proud walls of the Jin stood. He did not stay to rule, he rode on, for his empire was not built on stone, but on motion. He said, "A man's greatest joy is to conquer his enemies, to ride their horses and to see the tears of those who love them." The strong shape the world, the weak follow its shape. When a Persian Shah dared to kill Genghis's ambassadors, the Khan replied, not with words, but with fire. His revenge was swift, devastating, and absolute. Cities burned, rivers ran red, and the message was clear. To kill a messenger of the Khan was to challenge the sky itself. He established law, yasa, a code that bound his people under justice and discipline. He banned theft, protected merchants, and demanded loyalty to the empire over clan or tribe. In an age of chaos, he built order from the saddle. Trade routes flourished under his rule. For the first time in centuries, a merchant could travel from the Yellow Sea to the Caspian without fear. The Silk Road, once fractured by feuding kingdoms, flowed again like a golden river under Mongol protection. This peace, born of conquest, would later be called the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace. But peace is not eternal. Even as he united half the world, Genghis knew his time was short. In 1227, during a campaign against the Tangut, the thunder finally fell silent. The great Khan died, the storm's heart stilled. Yet his empire lived on, carried by his sons and generals, who spread it farther than even he could have dreamed. His descendants inherited not merely an empire, but a vision. They were raised not to worship comfort, but to honor the storm. And so, under Ögedei, the third son of Genghis, the Mongols rode again. Their empire became a machine unlike any in history, not of gears and iron, but of men, horses, and ideas. Their postal systems stretched across continents. Stations were built every few miles, stocked with fresh mounts. A rider could carry a message from Mongolia to the Black Sea in mere weeks, faster than any civilization had ever known. To the rest of the world it felt as though the sky had opened and poured forth horsemen without end. Cities that had never seen an army from beyond the forest now faced the banners of the great Khan. Kiev burned, Vladimir fell, and the princes of Rus bowed to an empire they could not understand. And then they turned west. Hungary, Poland, Austria, Europe trembled, the horsemen of revelation they called them. But the Mongols were not demons. They were visionaries, ruthless, yes, but strategic beyond imagination. They mapped every river, studied every pass, and struck with precision. At the Battle of Mohi in 1241, their armies crushed the Hungarian forces so completely that Europe itself nearly fractured. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. Ögedei Khan had died in Karakorum, and the law of the steppe demanded the general's return to choose a new great Khan. Europe was spared, not by strength, but by the timing of a heartbeat thousands of miles away. Had Ögedei lived a few years longer, the story of Europe might have been written in Mongolian script. Yet even without that conquest, the Mongols ruled more of the earth than any before them. Their dominion stretched from the Pacific to the Danube, from the icy north to the burning south. And within that vastness, something extraordinary began to happen. Peace. Caravans moved freely across the Silk Road. Persian scholars taught Chinese astronomers. Italian merchants traded with Mongol princes. The world, once fragmented, began to breathe as one. The Mongols did not see themselves as destroyers, but as unifiers. To them, conquest was not chaos, it was a reset. And in that reset, new life took root. Under the rule of Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis, the storm changed shape. No longer just the wind of conquest, it became the calm that follows. the silence in which civilization grows. Kublai was different. He admired Chinese philosophy, appreciated art, and sought to govern, not just to conquer. Under his rule, the Mongol Empire transformed from a nomadic dominion into a global network of culture and knowledge. He founded the Yuan dynasty in China, declaring himself emperor. And for the first time, the sons of the steppe ruled from palaces instead of tents. Beijing, reborn under Mongol hands, became a city of wonder, its streets filled with merchants, diplomats, and travelers from across the world. Among them was a young Venetian named Marco Polo. His journey to the Mongol court would later ignite Europe's imagination, tales of paper money, vast cities, and a ruler who commanded half the world. Through him, the Mongol Empire became a bridge between East and West, fact and myth, dream and memory. But beyond the palaces and scholars, another revolution quietly reshaped the world, the exchange of ideas. Gunpowder, first used in Chinese fireworks, now became a tool of war across continents. Printing techniques crossed deserts and seas. Foods, fabrics, medicines, and languages mixed like colors on a single canvas. The Mongols, in their relentless movement, had turned the world into one connected body, an early pulse of globalization centuries before the word existed. And as time went on, the thunder began to fade into memory. Still, their impact remained, not carved in monuments, but woven into everything we know, because the Mongols didn't just conquer land, they conquered isolation. They built the arteries through which ideas, inventions, and cultures would flow for centuries. Without them, the Renaissance might never have found its spark. Without them, the Silk Road might never have become the lifeline of civilization. And without them, the modern, interconnected world might never have come to be. The thunder had quieted, but its echoes would never die. Centuries have passed since the last Mongol banner fluttered in the steppe wind. The cities they burned have risen again, and yet, if you listen closely, you can still hear them. Not the clash of steel or the thunder of hooves, but their legacy, humming beneath the world we walk upon. The postal networks they built became the blueprint for global communication. The trade routes they opened still trace the same veins that connect our economies today. The idea of passports, of safe passage through foreign lands, was born under the Mongol Empire. Even the languages we speak carry their echoes. Words like caravan, horde, and yurt still ride in our tongues, survivors of the storm. They taught humanity that even the most distant lands could be part of the same story. But what made their legacy truly powerful was not just their victories, it was their philosophy of adaptability. A Mongol could thrive anywhere: frozen tundra, arid desert, dense forest. They understood something the rest of the world would take centuries to learn: that survival belongs to those who move, who bend, who change. And though the steppe is quiet now, its silence carries weight. The grass still bends in the wind, as if bowing to the memory of those who once ruled the horizon. So, what do we learn from the thunder that came from the steppe? That greatness is rarely born from comfort. That vision begins not in palaces, but in hunger. That unity is the most powerful weapon a people can wield. They proved that the world can change, that even a whisper on the wind can become a roar heard across continents. And in that their story mirrors our own age. We too live in a world where connection defines power, where borders blur, and information travels faster than arrows ever could. Now we ride into the digital frontier, faster, louder, and more connected than ever. So if Genghis Khan could unite half the world from the back of a horse, surely we can unite this corner of YouTube hit that like button like a Mongol war drum, smash subscribe like it's the gate of a fortress, and join our growing horde of history lovers riding into the next great story. Every week we dive deep into the empires, mysteries, and what-ifs that shaped our world, and we do it together, one charge at a time. Because history was never silent. It thundered across the steppe, and the echo still rides with us today.